Are you upside down on your car? Bear with me. Look, I'm still at work, just getting off work. If it's your first time here, I sell cars for a living. I've been doing it for about a year now, so I have helped a lot of people out where they come in and they're upside down on their car. So I'm going to talk about a few things. If you don't want to be upside down on your car and you're trying to avoid it, I'm going to give you some tips. And if you are upside down on your car, what you can do, some options for you. Because let's face it, being upside down in your car is never a good thing. And look, I am driving home, got off late. I get off at 8 usually, but I had a customer. I just sold a car. They got out of the finance office, and now it is 9:16 p.m. So going home to my family. What is being upside down? So basically, you owe something on your car right now. So say you owe $10,000, and you take it into a dealership, and they say that they're going to give you, how much did I say? 10. They're going to give you $5,000 for the car. So there's that difference between what you owe and what the car is worth. And basically, if you say you just take your car and you sell it to the dealership, and they just give you $5,000 for the car, well, now you still owe $5,000 because there's that difference. And so you don't necessarily want to pay the bank the 5,000. I mean, you still have to pay the bank the difference. So basically, the options of what people do is option one, you can roll it over into a new loan, which I don't suggest, especially if you're a pretty heavy amount upside down. If there's a lot of negative equity, I wouldn't suggest rolling it over because that just puts you in the same spot all over again. As soon as you drive off the lot, that car is going to go down in value. So basically, what you're doing is, and this is what you don't want to do, you don't want to go in and roll your negative equity over onto a new car and then finance it, because you're basically putting it off until the future. You're going to be dealing with that the next time you go around the next time you go to buy a car. Essentially, what you're going to want to do is, now this is kind of the way I break it down to customers between financing, leasing. Leasing is going to get rid of your negative equity way faster because the term length is like 3 to 4 years versus financing is 5 to 6 years. With financing, what you're doing is taking your negative equity from that car and you're adding it on top of the new loan. So say your new loan is 30,000 and that's what the new car is being financed for. Well, now you're adding $5,000 of negative equity on top of that. So now your total amount financed is 35,000. Basically, $35,000 you're financing. When you're financing $35,000, that is basically was worth 30. And now you just drove it off the lot, and now the car has gone down in value, and it's now 27 because now there's a new person on the title. Whenever there's a new person on the title, the car goes down automatically, even if you don't put any miles on it, because there's a new owner and another person's owned it. Automatically, the value will go down. So now you're in a car that you owe 35 on. And maybe if you put $1,000 down payment, you're financing, or $2,000 down payment, you're financing probably 34 to 33,000, and now you're driving a car that's just gone down in value because you drove it off the lot, and it's gone down in value, and now say it's worth 20, I don't know, 26 or 27. That would be on the higher end. It'll probably go down in value a little bit more than that, but you're already upside down at that point. And basically, what happens is that car's value will go down a lot faster than you can pay it off. So in 2 to 3 years or 4 years, say you want to go back and trade it in. Well, now that loan has the negative equity from the original car. It has your current negative equity, and now you're going to be rolling it over into a new loan. So it's a sticky situation, and it's a snowball effect. I would not roll over negative equity into a loan. I help a lot of customers who do, and they insist on doing it, and by all means, that's completely their decision. Maybe if you have a big down payment to cover the negative equity, then that would make sense. There's some situations where I guess it would make sense because you don't want to lease and you plan on keeping the car forever, and you plan on keeping the car for the full term length and just getting rid of your negative equity. But what I always suggest, especially if you have a car with higher negative equity, and you're really upside down, and now you just don't know what to do. I would highly suggest leasing. Um, for those of you who don't really know what leasing is, basically, to dumb it down a little bit, not to go into a full explanation, but you're not financing the whole amount of the car. There's going to be a residual amount after about 3 to 4 years based on the set miles that you put on your contract in the beginning. And that will determine the value of the car after that set amount of time. So typically you get a cheaper payment every 3 to 4 years. You get to drive a brand new car, and it's what I ended up doing for my wife, and we love it because it comes with gap. Maintenance is included, but it's a lease to purchase option. So you're not stuck in the lease, and you don't have to give it back. If you want to purchase the car at the end of the lease, then you purchase it. Whatever the residual is, then you finance it at that time. If you don't want to do it, you just wipe your hands clean and you walk away. That's why I say that if you're upside down on your car, leasing is the way to go, because that will get rid of your negative equity a lot faster than rolling it over. And let's face it, you don't want to put that difference down. You don't want, most people don't have just the cash laying around. If that difference is $5,000, I would say lease a vehicle to get rid of the negative equity. Some things that you can prevent yourself from ever getting in that situation is maybe you can if you're financing a vehicle and you're upside down, maybe just hold on to that vehicle for a little bit. Hold on to that vehicle for a little bit. Don't roll it over into a new loan, and don't lease. Just hold on to it. If you're fine with driving it and it's reliable and it's a good car, and you don't necessarily need to upgrade, I would hold on to it. Maybe make extra payments, double up on your payments. Maybe if you get a large sum of cash, like your tax return or something like that, put it towards the principal of the car. It'll bring that total principal way down, and you'll be in a way better position. And say you do pay it off. I know a lot of people are in a position where they pay their car off, and now it's almost turned into a game of how long can you keep your car paid off for. Well, in that scenario, think of it as you're still paying a car note, and just put that money in a savings account or in another bank or whatever, put it to the side, and then when it comes time in the future to buy your next car, well, you've already been making those hypothetical payments, but you've been paying it to yourself, and now you have a good amount saved up. That's when you get to the point where if you've paid your car off at that point. So there's ways to avoid getting yourself into that situation, but if you go and you finance a car and now you're in a situation where you're like, oh shoot, man, I don't want this car. Like, what do I do? And now you go to the bank, or no, you go to the dealership, and they say, oh no, you owe 30 and we can only give you 21 for the car. And then you're like, well, what in the world? I would try to see if you can go to Carvana or CarMax. Maybe they can give you a higher amount for the vehicle. And then that's a whole other conversation as well, because if you decide not to trade in that vehicle to that dealership, if you are truly trying to get a newer car, then by trading in your previous car, you do get a good tax savings amount. So just to keep that in mind too, when you don't trade in anything, you do pay the full taxes on that new vehicle. So something to think about. So yeah, I would, if you're in a situation where you're upside down, there's a few different options. If you're really, really upside down, look into the leasing option. Now, it does depend on your credit. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't really want to give up their credit. So I would honestly just, when you're at the dealership, how do I put this? There's a lot of customers that really want to play hard. They want to play hardball. They don't want to completely tell us all the information, which is fine. It's personal. It is personal information, but at the end of the day, especially when it comes to me. Now, I'm not talking for other salespeople, but when it comes to me, I express to the customer, look, the more information I have, it paints more of a picture of how exactly we're going to help you, of what car we're going to put, what cars you have options to. if we don't know anything, we don't know your credit. If we don't know how much you owe on the car, if we don't know this, if we don't know that, then we're kind of just working in the dark. And then at the end of everything, then we find out, hypothetically that you owe, let's say, like, say you tell us that you owe 20,000 on the car. I've had some customers, they're like, I'm not telling you how much I owe on the car, which I'm like, dude, if you just it'll save a lot of time. Just tell me how much you owe on the car. So there's customers that are like, no, I'm not going to tell you how much I owe. I'll tell you I owe 20,000, whatever. And then we find them the new car, and then we're like, okay, cool. Well, it looks like we're gonna give you 15,000, and you owe 20,000 on the car. And now I've just spent 2.5 hours with you, and you're not being completely honest with me, telling me the exact amount that you owe on your car. And now we show them all these numbers, they agree and everything, and then now finally they come out and say, oh no, well, I actually owe 30 on the car, or I owe 20. They owe more on the car than we had originally thought. Or for you new sales guys out there, if you are, or even customers, look, if you don't quite know how much you owe, call the bank and get the exact payoff amount. Because here's the thing, when you're on the website and you get the payoff amount, it could be wrong. It could be a little bit wrong. And so this all ties into you being upside down on your car. What the goal is for the dealership or wherever you're trading or selling your car to you want to get the most amount of money out of your car as possible to bridge the gap. And then you want to get the exact payoff so that whenever you're going to either sell the car or trade the car in, you're actually getting the amount. Now, I would always suggest rolling it over into a lease. If you are upside down, if there's issues with your car and it's making it to where it's really bringing it down in value, maybe it's worth it to just spend the money and get the car fixed. You just get the car fixed and then just keep driving it instead of rolling it over into anything, and to not hit your credit again. Like, it's a really good option. I mean, at the end of the day, if your car, I just got home. I got about a 15-minute drive home. So at the end of the day, look, if you're upside down in your car and your car runs fine, I would suggest keeping it. Now, I'm a sales guy, and obviously I want to tell you to come see me, and I can sell you a car, or we can roll it over into a lease, and you can wipe away your negative equity in 3 to 4 years. And at the end of 3 to 4 years, if you don't want the new car anymore, you can just give it back to us, and you don't pay anything. You're not upside down. You're not nothing. But if you come to me and we end up financing a car, just so you know, you are rolling over that negative equity into that new loan, and that typically that term is a lot longer. So, or even if you decide to have a higher payment and make the term shorter, we can do that too. 36 months. I mean, your payment's going to be a little bit higher, but you pay off the car faster, and you get rid of your negative equity a little bit faster as well. But typically, to get a fairly good payment, you're at 60, maybe 72, maybe 75 months. So that's stretching it out pretty far, about 6 years. So when you look at the whole grand scheme of things, to get rid of your negative equity, you're going to want to go with a lease option, at least a purchase option, because in 3 to 4 years, you're done with your negative equity. Versus if you go into the financing option, then you're still in your negative equity situation when it comes even on year 6, or in year 5. Say you're almost done paying the car off, that loan still has that negative equity into it, so you haven't washed it away. And then at that time, if you decide you want to go and get a new car, then at that point you'll get the car appraised, and then whatever you owe, hopefully by that time you owe a lot less, and then the car appraises for a good amount, so you have some positive equity into it. But if you keep rolling over negative equity, chances of that happening are pretty slim, because that loan amount is going to be high because you've just rolled over negative equity, and then that vehicle's value is going to go low. So that gap you have to bridge it keeps getting extended, because the more you drive your car will go down in value, and then it'll just and then that loan value will be a little bit higher because you just rolled over negative equity and that total loan amount is high. So I hope all that kind of made sense. Long story short, just to wrap things up, I would recommend doing a lease to purchase option. That way you get in a brand new car. Um, and obviously when it comes to that, a down payment typically is always required. It's always best to put at least a little bit down, even if you don't have anything. If you're upside down, the bank is going to probably require a down payment. So just keep that in mind if you're going to your local dealership and you're thinking about getting yourself a new car, and if you're upside down, typically with EVs, electric cars, they have so many incentives. It's insane. I know, like especially with the Honda Prologue, I'm not sure what the incentives. They're all different. I mean, they change every month. So I think right now we have, oh gosh, I don't even know. Hypothetically, just say it's like $11,000 off, right? Of the EV as their discount or their rebate that they have going on. So you get 11,000 off of the new car when you lease. And now say your negative equity is 11,000. You're 11,000 upside down. So now that rebate, that discount just covered all of that negative equity. So you're going into that lease with no upside down. That'll cover it. And so it just depends on whatever that rebate is or discounts on the new car is versus like how much you are actually upside down. Because sometimes you're upside down $5,000 and you're thinking, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to roll that over into the lease and then be done with it, in 3 to 4 years. But then say the discounts and incentives for that electric car are maybe 11, 12, 13, $14,000 off of the car. So now those rebates and incentives are covering the entire negative equity, plus you're just getting a more discount on the car just overall. So EVs nowadays in this market are really good. I would suggest, if you live in a house, you can get this charger installed. It's a little bit harder for people to do EVs, if they live in an apartment. Maybe if they have a supercharger across the street or something like that. But I've always just thought to myself, you know what, man, if I lived in an apartment complex and I had an electric car, like, dude, how would I charge it? I don't know. How would I charge it? Let me see really quick how long I've been recording here for. About 15 minutes. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, long story short, lease is the way to go if you're upside down a lot. If you have a good, reliable car, keep it. If you don't need a car, if you absolutely just need to get rid of your car, if you need to get rid of it and your back is against the wall and you just have to get rid of it, I'd go the lease option. If you just want a car, just because you want to upgrade a little bit, I would, in my opinion, I mean, you can come in and lease a new car to get rid of the negative equity, and now you're driving a brand new car, which is what I personally ended up doing. But look, if you're upside down and you don't necessarily need a car, but you want to close that gap a little bit, and you don't want to roll over any negative equity into anything at all, put extra payments. Or when you get your tax return, maybe put that chunk amount or whatever. If you can put $100 extra or maybe $150 extra a month towards the principal, over time that will stack up. That'll add up a lot. And then when it comes time to actually trade in your vehicle, that gap you might even just break even. They could appraise your car for 15,000 and you might owe 15,000 when a year ago you owed 20,000. So those are just some suggestions. Look, I don't know all the tricks in the whole book. I've been selling cars for about a year now, so I have helped a lot of people in this situation where they're upside down, and I always give them some options. Leave a comment down below. I can help you out. If you have any questions about your current vehicle, I can help you out. If you want to come by and see me, comment down below. I'll send you a message. We can get in touch, and then I can help you out as best I can. So feel free to reach out. Subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know whether I'm gonna. I'm posting every day. So if you like content like this, advice like this, I don't have a super fancy studio. I do minimal cuts. I could redo this video to where I am maybe talking less and not rambling, but this is who I am. And if you found any of this information valuable, or if it even made sense to you on what I just said, then that's good. If it didn't make sense, comment down below and say, hey, look, Josh, can you structure your video in a little bit of a better way? But literally, I was at work all day. Today's Saturday, bell to bell. I set the camera up as soon as I got in the car, and this was just my whole drive home. And now I'm gonna go inside to my 2 kids because I'll go inside to play with them, give them a bath, put them to sleep, hang out with my wife a little bit. So I wanted to squeeze this video on the car ride, and then when I get inside and put those kids to sleep, I'll be uploading this video to YouTube. So all right, well, thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next video. If you haven't, hit the bell notification so whenever I post a video, you get notified. Helps me out a lot. Thank you so much.